journey, you're going to come to these kind of bumps in the road. You know, maybe you call it a plateau, whatever you want to call it. You're going to hit these bumps in the road, and suddenly something that you didn't know about is your eyes are going to be open, and you're going to discover like, oh, okay, now I know. And at first, it's not going to be that clear. At first glance, it's just going to kind of be like, it's going to be something that you've heard multiple times, and then suddenly you realize, I think that applies to me now. So there are going to be things along your journey that you hear 30 times before it actually applies to you. There's going to be stages in the journey that, you know, something you're going to think like, well, why would I do that? Because this is already working, or I'm doing this now and that's what you told me to do. Or you may hear about all these things and you want to do all of them when you don't really need to do all of them. Yeah, you only need to do the one thing that matters for you at that point. And then what you're going to do is when you have that thing down, then you add on the next thing. And these habits start to compound, and that's what creates your lifestyle. So that's why when we say like, okay, these things are going to compound, or don't do everything all at once, or, you know, maybe this isn't for you. And that's why you'll see that sometimes there's different answers for different people depending on where they are. Maybe when you first started out your journey, you know, perhaps you weren't moving at all. And suddenly you decided, you know, I'm going to add in walking. And then walking got a little bit easier, and so you decided to add in running. And maybe you became an avid runner, and the more you ran, you were losing weight. You were so active, you went from being couch potato to couch to 5K maybe. And so suddenly you were losing weight. And it's because of that activity that you got. It got you used to working out. It got you used to being active. It got you used to doing something that you weren't used to doing before. But suddenly one day you get to the point where your body has adapted to that cardio. Because remember, first you were doing nothing, now you're doing something. So suddenly there is a result happening from that. But then there comes a point in time where the result is now stopping. And because in your mind you're thinking, well, the running is what got me here. So I have to keep doing that because running keeps me lean, or running helps me to lose fat, or whatever it is for you, then you won't want to stop that thing. And then suddenly, even though maybe in the beginning when everyone else was talking about, you know, oh, well, you should be lifting, or you should be doing HIIT, or there's these other suggestions that are being given to you, you were kind of able to ignore those for a while. And that's because at the stage that you were in, that amount of movement that you were doing was enough to cause a reaction. But now it's not. And when you get to that point, instead of, most of us, our gut reaction, because human nature is like our ego doesn't want to be proven wrong, and because we've told ourselves that that thing got us the progress, now when we're at a point where it's possibly doing more damage than it is good, we don't want to let it go because we've convinced ourselves that that was what was causing the progress. And so when it comes time to move to the next level and add something in that is going to keep the progress going, we kind of get a little stubborn and we don't want to do it. So throughout your journey, that's what I mean by the blind spots that are going to be uncovered. So there are going to be things that maybe at first you can completely ignore them and you don't see any repercussions for it. But then there comes a point in time where it can no longer be ignored. And when that happens, the analogy that we gave yesterday was you have a plant that when you start off, it's just a seed and maybe a little pod. And then when it grows to a certain amount, you have to repot it into something bigger, maybe a little cup or something like that. And eventually you keep repotting that plant until it has to go into the ground, because then it just needs its roots to soar. But if you put that exact same plant in the ground too soon, it won't grow. So it's one of those things that it's a catch-22, because if you do these things too soon, they will hurt you. But also if you choose not to do them, if you just look and say, well, I was growing just fine in this little styrofoam cup, so I'm keeping my cup, then you stop yourself from growing. So there's gonna be these ebbs and flows in your journey where what got you here won't get you there. That's a mentality shift that we have to expect and look for and know when it's coming, so that we can make the right decisions that we need to make, so that we can make the proper shift that we're supposed to make in order to continue progressing in our journey.